At this point in time, it seems like Pochettino's future is safe for now. However, with Jose Mourinho now declaring that he would be open to taking over the job for a third time, are the board making the right decision when it comes to keeping Mauricio Pochettino? I'm here to discuss tonight's latest reports. I'll be going through the predicted lineup for tomorrow, and I'll be going through Pochettino's controversial press conference earlier today. So share your thoughts and opinions, hit that like button, and without wasting any more time, let's start with things. And at this point in time, it seems like Pochettino's future is safer now, as the boards don't want to make any drastic decisions until the season ends, and they'll only force their hands if things get dramatically worse. So for me, this probably means that if we lose the Carabao Cup, if we lose every single game this month, then potentially they may be forced to consider options anew. But to be honest with you, I think the common sense thing is that they need time themselves to find the right potential candidates in case Pochettino is let go. Naturally, they don't want to repeat the mistakes made last season where they released Graham Potter and they could only turn to Frank Lampard to act as the interim. And obviously that brought no tangible change to our season. It brought no improvements. And essentially we would be repeating history again if we sack Pochettino without having any concrete ideas or plans. But to be honest with you, I think that our hands most likely will be forced. And that's because realistically, if you want to hire any serious manager to replace us, it's going to get harder. Because number one, why would they risk their careers and their PR right now by taking over a team that is in bad shape, isn't doing well whatsoever, knowing the fact that you are essentially about to face a losing battle until you get to the summer window where you have the time to have your own pre-season, work with the team, and fingers crossed you get to bring in the players to the club that you want to work with. I think if you're a serious manager, you wait until the summer. You won't be coming now. And I think realistically too, we need time to assess what type of club we want to be. I think we keep forgetting that. In the summer, candidates like Nagelsmann, Pochettino, Enrique, so many of them, they all had different coaching principles, philosophies, and ideas. We picked Pochettino for, some pretty, sensible reasons. Let's not forget that in the summer, we all felt like this was the sensible, responsible appointment based on his history in the Premier League, his history working with younger players as well too. Remember, the club is trying to develop this club to take on a more holistic approach when it comes to being a self-sufficient, sustainable club that is able to win things year in, year out. And that's why Pochettino was seen as that guy to kickstart that future for the club. And currently things are completely at the opposite. They're very difficult. The higher-ups at this football club, they need to think long and hard about what type of team we want to be, because whoever we hire next potentially needs to be the right appointment. His ideas have to match the philosophy we want. His tactics must suit the team as well too. It's not as simple as just going for any popular name. There has to be something tangible and strong behind this future manager. So listen, business-wise, based on the context of right now, I understand why we're not going to force our hands and get reactionary by sacking Pochettino, because we have no plan B, plan C, or plan anything. Business-wise, it would make more sense to release Pochettino at the end of the season. Let's say we don't climb up the table and we're stuck in mid-table. What difference does it make to sack him right now to hire someone else, knowing the fact that there's nothing left to play for? Remember, Pochettino was given a 2-year contract with the option to extend things by a further year. Naturally, of course, nothing will be extended currently, and it would make sense to let him go in the summer. He has a year left and would cost basically nothing to let go. I'm not trying to repeat history again. I mean, the exact same sentiments many people are sharing right now of we must let Pochettino go, he's failing, with the same thing said towards Graham Potter, and we saw no tangible improvements or benefits whatsoever. For a club that's trying to push on and move on, we have a habit of constantly repeating history. And I think the major reason as to why we won't make any hasty decisions right now unless we are absolutely forced to, let's say things in the dressing room gets absolutely diabolical, severe, if Pochettino really isn't bringing any improvements whatsoever. And I think ultimately it's not even about appeasing the fans right now, but I think for the honest, it's about appeasing the consortium. the investors that they brought on to put their money into the bid to buy the football club. We can't forget that. We have to remember this too. No one can take money out. They can't take dividends out for the next 10 years. And Roman made sure that no one will sell this football club until 10 years is over too. That was written in the contracts legally before Roman Abramovich decided to sell the club to the suitors. We have to respect and understand this, and this is why decisions now can't be hasty anymore, because we're 2 years into a project that isn't showing any signs of life right now. And currently, not only are we performing bad in the league, but we have no Champions League football again, most likely. We aren't securing top quality sponsorship deals as well too, to bring in more money from different revenues into the football club. I think everything happening right now is a lot more serious and actually ties into each other. So whatever decisions get made this season have to be serious, they have to be well thought out, and they can't be reactionary. So based on that context, I understand why Pochettino needs time. And I guess this segues nicely now to the press conference on Pochettino today. And I guess the prevalent message that was communicated throughout was togetherness. And in my opinion, that's all we have left. And that's something I think we can definitely get behind. Now, I'm going to say this quick disclaimer, but, I know that when people watch, content creators on YouTube, a lot of times you want to feel like you're being validated by the person you're watching. If you have the same thoughts, the same views, it's like, okay, the investment I'm putting into you now is actually worth it. You're not wasting my time. But, I got to keep things real. I've never been that person that looks to just validate opinions. I only say my opinions, and that's how my channel will be forever. It's how it was from the start, and it's going to be like this until the very end. So I'm mentioning this point first because I didn't agree with the backlash from the press conference today. I thought it was a bit short-sighted. I thought it was a bit reactionary. I thought it missed the bigger picture, and I think it lacked so much perspective that it kind of made me, scratch my head throughout the day, if I'm being absolutely brutally honest and real with you guys. Because when times like this are so bad for us right now, you need to make the best out of the situation. That is literally all we have left right now. We have a cup final at the end of this month. Before we play in that cup final, we must use this time wisely to make sure we are best prepared for that game in the final. So it means that we must show some signs of improvement in the next few games. And I think Pochettino really understands this right now because, obviously with the press reports, the fan backlash, and reports of players lacking faith in the management. Small examples like Thiago Silva's wife, publicly tweeting that changes are needed right now. I think it's quite obvious what she's implying. You get the sense that this is now make or break for Mauricio Pochettino. So for a guy that has nothing left to lose anymore right now, if he gets sacked, he'll get a nice little small payout and he'll find another job in the future. It makes sense that we use this press conference to communicate togetherness, accountability, responsibility. He's going to start using deflective tactics to try and, move points away, to not put pressure on the team. He's going to do everything in his power currently to make sure that he can at least boost the spirits of this team, because right now, until the end of this month, this is the biggest, greatest challenge for this team this season. Let's keep things real. To dissect some key points in the press conference, naturally after those heavy defeats to Wolves and Liverpool. To dissect some of the key talking points in the press conference, after those heavy defeats to Wolves and Liverpool, Pochettino came out with his best deflective tactics of the season. He mentioned the point that when we lost Liverpool, it was seen as the end of the world. However, when Arsenal then beat Liverpool, no one says anything about that. And listen, let's not be stupid. You can poke as many holes. Very thin argument posed by Pochettino. Obviously, you can do that because it's not the best example to use, right? But I think if you're doing that, you're missing the point. You're missing the sentiment today. And that sentiment is the togetherness, the collective spirit Pochettino has his final opportunity to muster before potentially he is gone if things don't improve. And I can respect that. I can understand that. And honestly, I can get behind this because we have a cup final to play for at the end of this month. We have nothing left to lose right now. I think we can support the team a bit more. Poch mentioned in the press conference too, it's a young team. These guys, they feel the pain when we lose. They feel the pain with the criticisms as well too. I think he's made this quite obvious throughout the season. And I think we've said this many a time ourselves, right? You know, when things go against us in games, you can see the mental confidence fall and deplete. The mistakes creep in our game. We get worse. We stop attempting things. We know this about our team. It makes no sense right now based on what we have to go for to start using this against them right now. So I like the fact that Pochettino came out today to say that, listen, I am their manager and I am their leader. And for me, it implied that he is here to take the pressure away from them. You know, he is here to foster that spirit and mentality in the team. He is here to take the brunt of the frustration from the fan base and everyone out there right now. And in my opinion, I think that's a little bit admirable. Now, obviously, I'm going to talk about Pochettino later on. You know, there's so many things he's done throughout the season I've spoken about that I have not agreed with whatsoever. But I'm trying to think of the bigger picture here right now. It makes no sense to talk about those things when we have big things to play for until the end of this month. Pochettino, though, also understands that it's the responsibility of himself and the team to build and foster that connection with the fan base. And let's keep things brutally real. We have that connection with anyone when they start getting us silverware and getting us wins. That's the nature of this game. That's how it's always been. But I guess all he's hoping for is a little bit of patience to try and get there. Obviously, he's given many reasons. And listen, I don't agree with all the reasons Pochettino said. And I personally don't agree with every action he's used to try and, you know, get through these difficult periods. I think he's kind of made things worse for himself at times. But I guess in the context of right now, it doesn't really mean anything just yet. And he's calling for the fans to support the team right now. And I think because we have nothing left to lose, honestly, I think we should get behind him. Not only the manager, but get behind the team for right now. So to move on, my friends, let's discuss the predicted lineup for tomorrow. I'm going to tell you guys this. If you want to see me get into greater detail about how I think we could play tomorrow, watch yesterday's video, because the rumor suggests that we may be seeing a formation change back to a 3 at the back system. So based on this little information, my lineup is going to be this. It's going to be Nico up front. Of course, Nkunku, Palmer in midfield. Might be controversial, but I'm keeping the energy that Pochettino has been making clear throughout the season. He must perform, right? And I do think that Caicedo, even though I respect the difficulties at times, he hasn't been great. And I would see Gallagher and Enzo in midfield together. I thought these guys started the season quite well, especially against Liverpool. That was a good pivot performance from both of them. And I think Gallagher just wins a lot more tackles and he's more defensively reliable. That's my opinion. Outside of that, Ben and Gusto as wingbacks. And obviously in defence, Badia needs to play there. I need to see a left footer that can progress the ball a bit better. Silva must be protected by 2 defenders outside of him. And obviously because we have no other defenders right now, Disasi has to play. But I would be going for Trevor Chalobah once he gets fully fit and available, because when he steps into midfield, when he plays out wide, when he defends wide, I think Chalobah, I'm not going to lie, he's so low-key underrated that, you know, it's a bit of a shame, because personally, I don't even think we needed to sign Disasi when you have a player like Chalobah who's part of your squad. I think this could be an interesting lineup to use, because I think right now, based on the difficult fixtures we have coming up, London derbies, City, and then obviously the Cup final, this is the best period now to work on this big game tactic. What I'm going to be curious though is to see how Pochettino actually sets us up using this 3 at the back system, because there's many different ways to use formations, right? Will we become more of like a counter-attacking team where we soak up the pressure, we drop our lines a bit more and rely upon like the pace of the wing backs, Nicholas Jackson, and then him being supported by guys like Nkunku, Cole Palmer, and maybe Enzo Fernandez, you know, using his passing range to kickstart these counter-attacks? That could be interesting. Or are we going to be similar as to what we were this season, where we're going to look to still dominate possession, but I guess this time we just have more of like a, you know, a proper solid back 3 instead of this like makeshift back 4, back 3. I mean, there's so much speculation around things because there's so many ways we could approach a game, but knowing that we have so many big games coming up, maybe it makes more sense for this team to get more used to being more defensively solid together, build their understanding that way, because that could be the key difference that's needed, right? Because I think we've always looked kind of interesting transitionally under Pochettino this season. And Nkunku being back can help us hopefully bury some of these chances. But what could help this team even more is having some confidence in terms of how they're defending off the ball now, because that's been our major weakness. And I think that has to be the biggest improvement we see in this team right now going into things. So that's my lineup out the way. And to end with things, my friends, we discussed The final story of tonight, and it came out from the Daily Mail, that Jose Mourinho is offering himself as available to take over even as the interim manager if Pochettino was to get sacked. Now, this is very interesting news. Obviously, Jose Mourinho's family is very settled in London. He's left Roma. I think ideally he wanted to stay here his whole career. It never worked out the second time. It didn't work out the first time either. And this could be his final opportunity to come back to the club of his heart. Because I think Jose Mourinho, listen, he will forever be synonymous with us. He's won things with Inter, with Real Madrid, but I think all of us know that Mourinho is Chelsea, and he's the one who really kickstarted our modern philosophy and our identity as well too. But I guess the question is Mourinho the manager we should look to turn to when things get hard and difficult? Now, for myself, and in my opinion, I do think that it's a bit too sentimental to expect current Jose Mourinho to come in here and refresh everything. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention over the years, but he doesn't really tend to do that anymore. And personally, I feel like if the club were to go for Jose Mourinho, you're essentially saying that this model you have of being self-sustaining, self-sufficient, relying upon youth, you've lost confidence in that, you don't believe in that, and all you care about is getting results at any cost because you're feeling the pressure of the investors, you're feeling the pressure of all the money you've put into the club. You don't think you're going to get your return back, and you need someone that can come in right now and at least secure your financial future. And I think if you go for Jose Mourinho, that's what you're essentially accepting. Some of you guys might not agree with me, but as I said, I'm only going to give my opinions. No one has to agree with me just because I'm a YouTuber. I'm not that type of guy. But I'm sorry, even though I love Mourinho and I will always respect him for what he's done for us and just respect him for the man and manager he is. He's an actual icon in the sport. I just don't think he is the answer at all. And the fact that Mourinho right now would even accept an interim job kind of tells me where he is currently as a coach. I think, listen, you did great things with Roma, only in knockout cup games, but for me, when it comes to league improvements, he's not that guy. And I've always felt like when it comes to working with younger players, this has been his Achilles heel, because his coaching demands, the self-sacrifice he wants from his team, it doesn't work with a young caliber of player that hasn't completed their game yet, that is still learning, that's still growing, that's still improving. The football kind of stops possibilities at times. Yes, it will work in knockout games where you must win that one-off game. But outside of that, anytime there's anything long-term and sustainable, it just shows a lot of cracks in my opinion. And I personally feel like he had a great opportunity here the second time. Things didn't go well. And you guys take it how you will. I still don't forgive him for how quickly he allowed guys like Salah, De Bruyne and everyone leave the club at the time. Listen, people will use hindsight. They'll be revisionists. They'll be like, they weren't good enough at the time. It's not his fault. No, they were there. There's been many reports of coaches persuading him to use these guys and him not doing that because he's always been stuck to his way of doing things. And I just don't think with how we're looking to grow supposedly at this football club that Mourinho's philosophy really matches that anymore. I think we're past that right now. I think because we have so many young guys, it's going to take them at least 2-3 years to get to the level we hope to see them, and that's challenging for league titles. But I think if Mourinho has that time in the meantime, number one, I don't think he lasts 3 years, and number two, we're going to have to shift so many players out and sign so many new players that we're kind of going to put ourselves in a situation again where we're back to square one. And I think that's what tends to happen with Mourinho teams. I don't think he's the answer, and I don't think the board should be feeling the pressure right now. Obviously, we have money to play with in the summer. I'll discuss that in a separate video, but I'm going to end things right here by asking your opinion. You've been hearing my opinions all day, but now's your time to share your thoughts and opinions. Would you like to see Jose Mourinho return back? Do you think it's time to get behind the team? Do you want to see that togetherness Do you want to see that togetherness right now? And do you feel like the board are making the right decision to keep Pochettino for now? Or do you feel they're making a mistake by not sacking him immediately? So my friends, let us know how you feel. I'm the EFC, this is BlueLionsTV. See you guys later. Cool.